Welcome everybody to Nectar of the Pods. I am your host, Graveshift77, and today with me I have two very special guests. We have Hazy Sage and Sir Ruli of the TCG Dome. How are you guys doing today?
Fantastic.
Doing good, doing good. Thanks for having us here.
Yeah, man,
Yeah, thanks.
absolutely. Thanks for being here, man. I was not expecting you guys to hop on with me, so this is huge.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, me
Excited to
too.
talk about Illustrious.
Oh yeah, let's get into the Alestrals stuff. We don't talk about Alestrals here though, man. Like what? What? This
Nah,
isn't an
man.
Alestrals podcast. What are you talking about?
Yeah, talk about. I think emo music was the
Yeah, emo
Yeah,
emo
right.
music.
It was the-
emo music. Perfect.
That's a
Got it.
separate podcast. Those guys aren't very good at what they do though. I anyways, you guys want to kind of introduce yourselves?
Yeah.
Sure. Riley,
Hey, you can go first. I'll give
no,
it to
you
you.
can go first. You
Oh,
go. Oh,
all
fine.
right,
You know
all
what?
right.
I'll
We're
go
gonna
first.
fight over it now,
I'll
or
go first. Yeah.
Now we're being so polite.
all right. All right. Well, so I'm Ceruli or Riley. Call me whatever you want. Been playing Celestial since I joined the Kickstarter. Been playing Celestial since the app came out. Pretty much, that was when I was able to get my first hands on it. And it's just been a game that I've loved ever since. I've been super into TCG since I was a kid, starting with Yu-Gi-Oh. So coming from a Yu-Gi-Oh background, translating to now Celestials has been pretty much the extent of my TCG play. We've dabbled in other games. Still curious to dabble in other games, but Celestials has really just like taken a hold. So
Yeah,
yeah,
right on. I
that's
think
pretty
it's
much
taken a hold of a lot of us personally.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Hayden?
Yeah. So, after Riley, I am Hazy Sage or Hayden, whatever you want to call me. Yeah, and I got into trading card games at a young age as well. Before I even knew Riley, it was something I got to do with some good buddies of mine who were actually friends with Riley. So that is how Riley and I and all these other people started hanging out. We used to get groups of guys doing 2v2 battles in Yu-Gi-Ohs, 1v1s, little round robin stuff going on, trading, all that fun stuff, and all of us had a blast. So it's something that's near and dear to my heart, and I've got a lot of nostalgia playing right now, especially with Elestrals, with how overwhelming some of these other games have gotten. Elestrals just seems like a brand new, fresh start, and it's really, really piqued my interest. So,
Yeah,
a lot of fun with that.
awesome. As it has with all of us. Like I was into like MTG and like Yu-Gi-Oh, but like I haven't been like hardcore into Yu-Gi-Oh since like the 5Ds era, like way back in the like vanilla days. And I play MTG as well, but I've never been real big on like the competitive side of like MTG. I would just like
Mhm.
play in the arena app and just kind of construct random wild things. Kind of same as what I do in Alestrals, but
Oh yeah.
I'm definitely diving headfirst into like the competitive side of Alestrals as opposed to like with other TCGs. But do y'all come from like a competitive background in other TCGs or anything like that?
So for me personally, so growing up, it was like all casual, like 100%. Every time me and Hayden played, like we had our favorite deck, and we literally played like, do you know the in Yu-Gi-Oh Skull Servants and
Yes.
Gladiator Beast
Yes.
archetype? I love Skull Servants. Hayden loved Gladiator Beast. Literally one summer, we would just buy cards to boost up our strategies to literally play against each other. So
There you go.
definitely very casual players. In these recent years, ever since I would say about after the pandemic, I think I got pretty into competitive Yu-Gi-Oh, but not actually having like stepping out and trying like myself at like championships and stuff. Just with the release of Master Duel and like actually playing online,
Yeah.
I played a lot of it, like trying to be competitive, but I never actually like stepped out of like I would say my comfort zone and like try to get into like tournaments and stuff like that. So Lestrals, I think, is like my first big step into competitive, like actually trying to be the best that I can be and entering in tournaments, trying to win, and like just like full on like head first into competitive.
Yeah, same here. Hazy?
Yeah. Yeah, Lestrals is actually the first game that I've ever played competitively. Unless you count like ranked matches on like first person shooters, like I'm a big Apex player.
Yeah.
All that aside, Alestrals is the first that I've actually competed for prizing or just reputation or anything like that. Um, and yeah, I've just played casual. I won't touch too much on it because Riley basically said it all. I played a lot of casual games with him, with a lot of competitive spirit to go with that. So, in Alestrals, I think the competitive scene just drew me in right away. And with the smaller player base, it's a lot easier to get into it. And it's a lot easier to get the information that you need in order to be at a competitive level. So that's something I really like about it now, too.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Like I'm same guys. Like Alestrals is the first like thing that I've actually dipped my toe into like the competitive side of it, and still have yet the top cut, unlike you two gentlemen. But I'm working on that. I'll actually make like
You'll get there. You'll get there.
I just don't make very competitive decks. I just make some fun decks that I take into the tournaments. Like
2 wins with the frog in a tournament, I think is just as good as possible.
honestly, right? Like I mean, specifically won by Zephyrog too. That's what got me. I was just like, let's go, man. He's real. He's real. Fear the frog.
That's honestly legendary. Like, I don't think anybody would have the guts to bring something like that in.
I'm dipping my toe into the competitive, and like I've even kind of like thought about it. Like maybe it's not the best thing to do to like go more with a casual mindset into a competitive tournament like that, but I think that it kind of takes the fun out of it, but I definitely feel like it'd probably be better to start working like in more of like the meta relevant stuff, more opposed to like the fun mechanic stuff when it comes to like official competitive tournaments. Just because I've participated in 4, never went over 2 wins in any of those, and I really want to at least make top cut. You know, I want to make sure that like I can actually put my name into that small group of people that have made top cut at least, you know. Maybe not necessarily win the whole thing, but you know.
Yeah, I think that's where Riley and I were at actually too. When we were talking about joining these tournaments, like same exact thing you were saying. Him and I really, really wanted to go in with like our personalized decks, and like I love using the fire element, and right now it's like one of the worst things you can use, and Riley really used a wind deck, and at the time I don't think it was considered that great, but yeah, like I just straight up used Distant Coder's deck list, and you know, I did pretty well with it. As long as you don't misplay, it kind of does its thing.
Oh yeah, misplays are definitely a lot more detrimental in a competitive setting. Like the misplays that I've done in some of the tournament matches, I've just like literally threw me the game. Like I could have won the game had I not made that certain play and done that certain thing. So it definitely like makes you need to like focus a lot harder than you would in like a casual sense, you know?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, there's so many things to worry about when misplaying.
Yeah, especially in a game like a Lestrals that's like just so dense and compact, like to where like you mismanage your spirits and like you're done for, man. Like you got to make sure that you know what spirits you're using, which ones you're expending, which ones you're bringing back, like you got to be thinking like 10 steps ahead, and you got to, especially with like the rune heavy meta right now, because like there's the meta relevant decks in like Thunder Nexus and Earth Beaters, but like the meta is based off of runes and counter runes specifically, so you got to know the right instance to play those. Like I have a Gorgon's face down, like if they play an Ash Rabbit, do I Gorgons the rabbit, or do I wait for something that might benefit me more later on down the line? Like, yeah, they draw 1 card. It might be the one that they need, but if it is the one that they need, I have this Gorgons now for the card that they need, you know? And then you also got to keep in mind, like, how many cards are in their hand? What could they possibly have that I might need to look out for? Because if they've got a full hand, they're probably holding on to something like an Earthquake or Laurels or some sort of removal, or you know,
Eruption too, like all sorts of different
exactly things. Like eruptions. Like there's a bunch of things that you have to keep in mind constantly in this game, and in particular, like. You know, because like in MTG, like there's just rules upon rules upon rules, and you can basically do whatever you want. But it's not that way in Alestrals. Like it's so much more like grounded and like very like I play this, you activate this, I play this, you play this. It's very like very turn based and very you got to be mindful of what you're doing. So that's part of that what I really enjoy about the game personally. Would you
Yeah.
guys agree or?
Yeah, yeah, 100% agree. Another point to add on to that too is one thing you have to think about too is unlike in other games, the actual activations of the cards have to go hand in hand with the spirit resource, which that's just like a big calling to Elestrals in general is the fact that every card you play is going to require your life. Unlike in a game like Yu-Gi-Oh, where it's common to say you don't even care about your life points till they're gone. Like you don't even like think of them because your actions don't cost them.
Exactly.
So you can get into this mindset, which is something that I've been in, where I'm always worried about activating cards at the right moments, and I'm not paying enough attention to my spirit deck, and I'm realizing that I'm putting myself at a disadvantage with the spirit deck. So when you hold on for the correct moment and you start using spirits and you hold the card, hold the card, hold the card, you can hold the card for too long to the point where it's unplayable because you don't even have the spirits uh, necessary to use that card in that moment. And if you do use your spirits in that card in your moment, you pretty much cost yourself the game. So
Yeah.
you need to weigh your risk options with holding on to things like that too. Sometimes you have to take a less quality play earlier on in order to have those spirits later on to win you the game. So you need to really that's where understanding your deck and what your deck does versus any other like type of game where you like don't have to worry about that. You can just play your deck the way it plays, and you don't have to worry about your resources and where they're at the whole entire time.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You got anything to add on it, Hazy?
Yeah, just agreeing with like the comfortability aspect to this game. That can be really big. Because you can use a meta deck list and you can like semi know how to use it, but you're not gonna really know what to account for when factoring in those risks on like what card you may draw into or what card you might want to save or use early on. Um, so I think that makes this game a lot different because it's not so searchable yet, like some of these other TCGs. There's a lot of just turn by turn, drawing one card a turn, or if you want to draw cards, you got to use more spirits. So you got to be mindful of everything. So it makes this game a lot like chess in a way.
Yeah,
It's just,
that's one of the biggest comparisons that I've heard just in general from the community. It plays out a lot like chess, just in
Mm-hmm.
a crazy cool TCG format. So
yeah.
Yeah, which is a big reason why I'm super into it too. And then being able to translate it from like a game because it does have similar mechanics to Yu-Gi-Oh. So
yeah,
to have background in it and feel comfortable joining a game right away, I think makes trying to be competitive in a game right away a lot more appealing versus a lot of new players if you're playing Pokemon or MTG. I honestly think you have a harder time with this game at the moment, really getting into it and thinking about it competitively,
yeah,
versus if you come in from Yu-Gi-Oh. So there's definitely diving into like getting into the game more. There's definitely a lot of factors to consider because like when you say like a game is like chess, that can be like really like almost daunting to someone to be like, okay, how do I get that? Like, how do I get to that level where I can think incorrectly? And there's definitely certain backgrounds that are thriving more. You can tell just by someone like Distant Coder winning a lot. Like there is just certain games that are translating to this much more
yeah. It
than
does
others.
definitely translate better from a Yu-Gi-Oh background than as opposed to like a Pokemon or MTG background because like especially with Pokemon, that is like your turn, my turn. There's no interactions on the other person's turn. It's just like I do something and then on your turn you do something and there's no like
Mhm.
response to that. Like MTG is kind of like it does have like the hand trap mechanic and stuff that you can do on the opponent's turn, but like
Mhm.
it has a lot more complexity behind it than the baseline of Elestrals. So
Definitely. 100%. And Elestrals will get there. I mean, you can see cards that are already be printing in the future where like
yeah,
it's like becoming far more complex. And I think it's going to, I hope it doesn't go too fast. Like I hope it
yeah.
stays at a good level.
I really like the way that A Drive has been going about the set releases to where like he says like base set one is like an incomplete puzzle and like Frostfall is going to add
Mhm.
a piece to that puzzle. Daybreak's going to add another piece and so on and so forth moving forward. Now, that's not to say that like a year down the line when we're into like set 8 that there might be a lot more complexities than there are currently. But I do like that thought process on it. Like we're not going to like shift anything dramatically with each set. We're going to build upon what is there and established already, which I think makes for a very good business model when it comes to like the playability of a TCG personally.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think I'm confident that A Drive is doing it the correct way. It's just like you just have to be willing to see the results. Like you can. It feels like it's going the right way, but at any moment, it could take a few things and like a format could be ruined. Like
Yeah,
a
and it
few
could
too
just
many
spiral
cards.
out of control.
Yeah, so it's like you just really have to be careful about it, and I'm confident that it's not going to be bad, but it could definitely happen
Yeah.
out of
We
nowhere
we
too.
don't know, man. It's still in its infancy. Like this is like the
Yep.
very beginning, you know,
Hmm.
cuz like we're finally out of the Kickstarter. They've switched up the manufacturers. We've got the new cards which are phenomenal in my opinion. I
Hmm.
think the delay was well worth it. Um
Hmm.
but you
Do
know,
we want to
there
do you want to talk about the new cards at all? That'd be interesting.
Oh, dude, absolutely. We can
Yeah.
discuss Frostfall. What are you guys most excited for? Like, what is your favorite card that has been revealed? What kind of things are y'all cooking as far as like adding in and making some wild decks? Like what? And
Mhm.
we'll just start there.
Yeah, definitely. So with like the new cards that are revealed, like as far as like effects and stuff go, I think it not enough was added to like so talking about meta in general. I don't think the meta is going to change all that much. I
Oh
think
no, not
there's
at
a few
all.
more decks that are going to be viable, but I think meta could like I've been talking with a few others, and everybody thinks that the meta is going to stay the same. I think decks like Morfrost, and you're definitely going to see things pop in and out. But personal decks that I'm excited for are like Haboofin, big
Yes.
fan. Like
Yeah.
I'm
Me too.
excited to try that out. I'm like Haboofin. I'm like a big win, so like any of the win like new Elestrals, I'm excited to try out. But also like Morfrost, I'm down. Like that is literally Skull Servants and Elestrals.
Yeah.
Like, and I am just like I'm all for it.
It's gonna be wild, man. That deck's gonna be
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be so much fun, and that's got to be the deck that I'm most excited to just try out and see how the mechanics switch up, like the feel of Elestrals.
Yeah, for sure. Hazy,
Yeah.
what's your brain cooking up? What are you excited for?
So I'm sticking with the Fire Beaters deck. Well, I've played Riley with Fire deck like an infinite number of times by now, and I've been calling it Fire Boost. Really been taking hold of the stadium strategy for Fire instead of the Divine, since it's kind of useless with the artifacts being able to. They're just so vulnerable as soon as you get them out. So I called it Fire Boost, and I would just use Kinleo. I'd Nexus. I'd have cards like Circle of the Sky and Altar of the Stars, um, and just try and get these elements stacked on my Elestrals, and then get the biggest attack boost possible while hitting them for more damage with those extra spirits. So I'm kind of playing. I'm riffing off of that right now, and I've essentially got that deck with Lavalith. Just 3 Lavalith added
just
in there.
just the Lavalith, and that's it.
Yeah,
Pretty
Lavalith
much,
will
yeah.
carry.
Yeah,
He will win
Lavalith
games.
is gonna be nutty, man.
Yeah.
Like absolutely nutty. I
Yeah.
do like Exalt Flare. I think that he's going
Oh
to
yeah.
add something to Fire that's going to legitimately
Mhm.
like make those 2 drops so much more effective.
Mhm.
Like especially with like Leonite, and I even think personally Waspire will see a big increase from that as well, because just
Yeah.
the just being able to use Exalt Flare's effect to get Waspire out, and he already has the extra spirit that you can expend to do that burn damage. You don't
Mhm.
necessarily need the Ignectors, and then if you add a Kinleo into that as well, you can Nexus over to him and then use the effect again. You know, so
Mhm.
it can just spiral out of control really quickly in that case.
Mhm.
Yeah, agreed. I think
Yeah.
that's. I think Johnny was talking a lot about that. Jay
Mhm.
Johnny, about first turn, you can like hit your opponent for like 6 to 8 damage or
Yeah,
something before they can even play the card.
absolutely insane to
So
think about.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm down to see it.
Hmm.
Yeah, we'll have to see where it goes. That's another one of those cards where it's like, will it be a problem
Hmm.
in the future? But for right now, I think it's just so much fun. Like every card just seems like fun. Like I'm
Yeah,
not, there's never, I have not seen one card that like I'm worried about. Even that card, like I'm confident that like design will work out, but it will be
Oh yeah,
interesting to
and
see
the
cards
cool
like that.
the cool part about it is like the meta is the counter runes, so like Gorgons isn't
Mhm.
going anywhere, right?
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
like the addition of the chains of Prometheus is huge. But
Hmm.
I've spoken to multiple people about chains, like how you would like fit that into certain decks if you're trying to go about it. It's really hard to fit chains into a
Yep.
deck that isn't running fire by like at
Hmm.
all. Like Earthquake is one thing, but like to fit chains in because you don't want to get rid of those earthquakes, right?
No,
So
no.
what would you substitute spirit wise to fit in the fires for the chains of Prometheus? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
And that's where,
I
yeah.
don't think that it's going to be as huge as like as relevant in the actual gameplay unless you're running fire in your deck already, because then you already
Mhm.
have the spirits to utilize it, you know.
Yeah, it feels like the only decks that can make it splashable is fire and like mostly like mono decks where like earth who already like have like 14 earth spirits
Yeah,
where you're like
you're like,
I will
okay, I
I
can
will
sacrifice a couple of those. Yeah,
yeah, that's the only way. But a deck like wind or these decks that have very low of each spirit and you're very connected to like yeah, fitting fire in like in all my wind decks like I can't fit Lavalith in. Like there's no room for it. And I mean the thing about wind too is that you have P Gust and so you don't even necessarily need a card like Lavalith to be competitively viable. But yeah, it's one of those cards that like you wish you could have in every deck, but I don't think it's going to be the cards that you can fit in every deck.
yeah,
Unfortunately.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Me personally, I am super stoked on Cerebrum. Like
Oh yeah.
I think that Cerebrum is gonna be able to do some wild stuff, man. Especially with the addition of like Babloon on top of that to beef him up even
Mhm.
more, you know.
Yeah.
And then if you're
What is
able,
Freedom's effect again, real quick? What is it?
Cerebrum is so like whenever he is in defense position,
Mhm.
the opponent cannot set cards in their back row whatsoever.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And while he's in defense position, that's the only way that that works. So he's
Mhm.
definitely going to be that stall card that you just
Yeah.
have as a big body on board that is able to shut down the back row completely. Now,
Mhm.
tech in a bag of wins on top of that, dude. I mean, that's going to be hard to hit over, especially if you tech in like Atlantis and Babloon, and then you throw in like some nexusing mechanics as well,
Mhm.
like with Alter and like Circle the Sky. You can
Yeah.
put more spirits on him to beef him up even more. And if he's equipped with Bag of Winds, then you can't target him with Earthquake or Laurels. So you're
Mhm.
just going to be sitting there with this card on board, and unless you pull out a big body or like something to decrease his
Mhm.
defense, then
What
it's
what is his defense?
his defense is 4, but he gains +1 defense for each rune in your back row.
So you have to already have those runes set, and then once you
Yes.
bring them out, oh, okay.
And that's where it's going to get a little finicky and like kind of weird, because you're going to want to use those back rows eventually.
Yeah.
But that's why I said like cards like Atlantis and like Babloon would come into play, to where like it doesn't matter how many back row you have, his defense is still going to be hard to get over, you know.
100%. Yeah, I think it's going to come down to is the decks like wind and earth relevant? Because Bag of Winds gets taken out, you have a Demeter on the field.
Yeah.
You get Demeter, pump your Equal Links up. Like you do have these
There
options.
are workarounds to it, but I
Yeah.
like the idea of just being able to control the board state
Oh
and
yeah.
have to where
Mhm.
your opponent won't be able to like play back row. Now I think
Mhm.
that comboed with like Whale Lance would be huge, because if they're not
Mhm.
able to use their back row, Whale Lance can pop off and just dissect your opponent's deck. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. And yeah, water is going to be one of the best decks too at getting out there 2 drops as well,
yeah,
and especially with the Waylance is water like
Water
frost
Frost.
too. So like frost also has some pretty good mechanics for getting out there 2 drops, because 2 drops are still one of those things where they're they're so fun, but they are like so hard
They're so
to
outable,
make
man.
viable. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see, because like you could splash that type of strategy into like a like a lock strategy or anything like that that's going to be playing recovery as well as tad puffs, potentially like Rise from the Ashes and stuff like that. Like you kind of have to play those cards to pop off with those 2 drops because you need to put that 2 drop down at the time that you want it down. You can't kind of like wait for it, otherwise your opponents establish their board and you just feel bad.
Yeah, one of
So
the things that I think would be wild is just a turn 1 Tadpuff into Cerebrum. Lay 2 cards face down. You've got a 6
no,
body defense on board that, and they can't
Yeah.
they can't use their back row, man. That would
Oh,
be
yeah.
wild, man. I just think that
100%.
it's gonna be a lot of fun to work with, and it's gonna add in like a new play style as well.
Yeah, no, that would be a lot
Gonna
of fun.
piss a lot of people.
You're
Yeah,
right.
You're not gonna have a lot of friends.
Yeah, no,
You
for
might
sure.
win.
I just, yeah, man. I think water and wind probably are getting the biggest support with Frostfall,
Mhm.
personally.
Yeah.
Like fire is getting more too, but I do feel like the winners of Frostfall go to water and wind, personally.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
I
Fire
agree
and
100%.
Thunder only have like 5 cards added.
Yeah, and
Right.
Thunder's editions are like Ricer Ridge, which is kind of cool.
Mhm.
And like Emperor Watt, but that's more frost focused, I feel, than it is
Yeah,
Thunder.
100%.
And also you got the Fun Glow Brontaglow thing that could be kind of
Yeah.
fun and cheesy to work
It'd be
with.
fun, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
There's a bunch of fun, cool things coming in Frostfall. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
I'm
there's so
I'm
much.
just ready to start playing. Like, I think it's the time of Elestrals where I've been waiting for this for the whole entire time. Like, I'm just excited to finally be at the beginning when new cards are released and like test out decks and just like have fun, like seeing what's best. Like I like joining in with having the prototyping and like this large group of people already playing the game for so long. It feels like they kind of set the standard and then you just played along with it. And
Yeah.
then now it's like as a group we can finally all get together and have fun and just try things out and like have a good time and nobody feels 100% confident.
Yeah, man, and like the more brains coming together means the more ideas are going to be floating out there. So
Yeah.
like that's awesome. Like I'm super excited to be here at this base level to be a part of all that.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's truly a great feeling.
Segueing from like Frostfall and whatnot, we're just gonna move into like I want to ask you guys about Elestrals in general. Like, how long have y'all been playing Elestrals? Like, has it been a very long time? Has it been like a short stance? Like, how, like roughly around what time did y'all actually start playing the game and start getting invested?
Yeah. I know for me, so I was watching Yu-Gi-Oh content and when A Drive did his first like Kickstarter like kind of like push out there, he had a lot of the like Yugi tubers they call them,
Yeah.
like trying out the game, and that's when I just decided to get. I think I put like $60 into the Kickstarter or something like that, and just got a few things, just to try it out. It looks fun. I got like two structure decks to try out with my fiance. Actually, I just kind of wanted us to like have a game to like try and play or something like that. But then it wasn't until the app was released that I think me and Hayden started playing. So I didn't actually start playing the game. So me and Hayden started playing the game at the same time. And I think it was like September, if I remember correctly. Like I think like the app had been out for like 2 weeks or something like that. Me and Hayden started playing. Hayden, you got any other thoughts on that? I don't really know too much about like your like time frame of like Elestrals. I don't know if it was September.
Yeah,
Or...
yeah, because we started making our channel in what, December?
So we started like theorizing at the beginning of December, and our very first video is January 1st. So like we chose like the first day of the year to like release our first video.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, I think it was like late October or like early November, or yeah, somewhere around there. So we haven't played for a very long time. It's been about probably like 6 to 7 months we've been playing.
Yeah, same. So
Yeah, and we started out on the app, and instead of doing the physical cards, Riley did get me into that. I started out with like a booster box, and I got like a Pantera deck, and I got a few of the Centaur and a few of the Trifernals, and we started making our own custom decks out of there. We weren't really paying much attention to the meta at that point. We're just making fun decks to play.
yeah, just making things that you think would be really cool to play with. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then
I think one of the first decks that I built was a Spinosect deck. So
Oh, dude, I love. Yeah, I think
Nice.
honestly,
I gravitated towards Spinosect like immediately. The moment I pulled the holo, I was like, dude, this card, bro, this card.
Yeah, that's fair.
I feel like that's the card that's gonna come back. It's like being able to attack and defense when you're at 2-drop, 9 defense.
It's so big, man. Like
Yeah.
Power
honestly,
of wins and stuff too. Like it definitely could
yeah,
be
it could
something in the
definitely
future.
make a resurgence for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It's kind of
'cause-
bad against what the Buffoon stands.
Yeah.
The Hibufin Spinosect combo I was thinking about as well when they first released Hibufin as a Wind Earth, and I'm just like, ooh, this could be
Oh, here we
fun.
go.
This could be fun.
Yep.
So
Yeah, if they can make, I think with something like that, if you can make it searchable, like if you can make it where you can add that card to your hand when you want it, and you can play it when you want it, it becomes so much
Oh, yeah.
more meta relevant and
Yeah.
like competitive.
especially
Because
after like you've weeded out and baited out all the back row, you know, that could possibly deal with it, and you know, okay, they've already used like 2 Gorgons, a shield, and 2 PTAs. Like there's not much else they can have that's going to be able to out this, you know, unless they pop like an earthquake or a laurels or something. But I mean, it's all situational. But yeah, being able to search specifically for that card, huge, man.
Yeah,
Huge.
makes it so nice.
That would be awesome.
100%.
But yeah, I started getting in around the same time. It was like right before the Elestriad started
Oh yeah.
was when
Yep.
I picked up on it. And I was watching the Elestriad and I was like, dude, this looks like such a fun game. Like this is really cool. And the fact that A Drive was able to get big names in there like Powder and MBT and Coder and all these guys, that was also really huge. So
Yeah, 100%.
it definitely gave a lot more exposure to it, but I didn't really start diving headfirst into like the gameplay and everything until like mid-February, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah, I think that was for like a lot of people, honestly.
yeah,
Like I think a lot of people were just like enjoying it, and I think it's still to this day. I don't know if a lot of people are diving in yet. I think a lot of people are still taking their time, maybe playing with like their friend or something like that. But we haven't gotten that like surge in like people just wanting to be like competitive and play and be involved and like make it their, because with TCGs people do get very like this is my game, like they get
yeah.
very like close with their games, and I think we're still waiting on that surge of people saying like this is my game.
Well,
Instead
I
of just
mean,
treating it.
that's what I did, man. Like, I don't think I've
Yeah, me
ever
too.
been as invested in a TCG before. Like, so much to the point that like I've dropped hundreds of dollars on it so far, and I'm making content on it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that
Yep.
I feel like that in of itself is just like a testament to how good the game is.
Oh yeah, and I think a lot of people like. I mean, that's like I think all of our stories are probably pretty similar. Where like I think the game came first, and the liking of the game came first, and we're like, hey, I like this game so much, I want to make content out of it.
Yeah.
Not like, oh, it's not like joining in like a card game that's already popular, where like you're making content because you think the content will work. It was like the game came before it, and I think that's
Yeah.
a huge. A huge plus on the game side that it's that good, where like you're pushing people out of their comfort zone to do something that they won't even really think about doing.
Yeah.
Um,
And
which
that's actually a good segue into another thing I wanted to ask y'all.
is
So like how did y'all decide to like come up with the TCG Dome and start like making content on Alestrals? And like what was the thought process? Like what were some of the things that y'all were thinking about, and what are some things that we can expect from y'all in the future? I'll start with Hazy.
Yeah. So, yeah, I can actually owe that to Riley for bringing up the game of Alestrals to me. We hadn't really been playing trading card games for a long time, I would say. At least a couple of years. We haven't even like touched them. So
it was
Riley
Master
brought
Duel. I
up-
think when Master Duel first dropped, I
Oh.
think that was like 2022. That was the last time me and Hayden played together.
That's right.
Before
Yeah,
that.
so yeah, we were getting really into that. That kind of dropped off pretty fast after we just realized how much time it took. And then when Illustrials came around, Riley was just like, "Hey, you guys should check this out." We checked it out. Riley and I ended up playing like a lot, and it seemed almost like every day we are like, "Hey, can we get a match in? Trying to get a match. I got a new deck. I'm trying on a new strategy."
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun. And yeah, one day Riley was just like, "Hey, dude, want to just like record our duels or our clashes and just post them on YouTube? And we were like, sure. And then
Sure.
from there on, we just like went head first. Not too headstrong. We were trying to be cautious and um, trying
Well,
to be
I
cautious.
think where y'all started with like the Eternal Showdown series was actually a really good starting point to like dip into it, because a lot of people really love like draft clashes and stuff. And with Alestrals being so young and only having a limited card pool at your disposal, it makes for really different drafts than you get from games like MTG and Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff, you know?
Yeah, 100%. And I think too, something that was cool that's kind of a credit to the design of the packs is the only reason why we could think of that was because we wanted to do it where what's like the minimum amount of packs you need to do have a game. So you need 20 packs because each pack comes with a spirit, and you need 20 spirits in your spirit deck. And that was kind of I think we just wanted to do that for fun. And then we were like, hey, what if we add spirits, and what if we do something that makes it so that you have to switch everything up, but you can kind of have this like bare minimum like bones, like that's how like a sealed environment for like a casual, say like a side event at like an event or something like that, like you'd have to have at least 20 packs to make a deck, and then you can kind of like the idea just kind of took itself over, and just like it just worked out. I think that was like kind of our first like idea of content. We were like, we really want to make content so we can do that idea, and we kind of needed to, I think, for us too, like we were just having so much fun playing, and I think we're both at our times in our life, like if we're going to spend this amount of time playing something, like why not like do something else with it at the same time, like that tries to improve like skills that we have. Like we both have interest in being creative and like learning different stuff. Like we have so much interest in learning things right now in our lives that it kind of like was able to like blend two things together, and then it just started to like compile that, like each time we did something it was super fun and we had a really good time with it, and then we're like, oh, let's keep going, and like the energy just kind of kept itself there, to enjoy it without any sort of like return on investment from it. Like we weren't really too like, oh my god, like we need to get something out of this. We were already getting what we wanted out of it by having fun, by learning new stuff.
Right.
So
I can say, and I can attest to that, this is literally the most fun I've ever had playing a TCG in my life. Like, even back in the day when vanilla Yu-Gi-Oh was a thing, like that, I was young back then and I loved playing it, but I don't think I ever loved it as much as I do Alestrals. Like,
yeah, for me, a lot of it was like with Yu-Gi-Oh, like playing it back in the day was being able to watch the anime and then play. Like being a kid and having that go along with it, I think made it seem so much bigger and better than what maybe it really was at the end of the day. But I was like a huge like Yu-Gi-Oh was like a defining anime in my life. Like that's, I think,
oh yeah.
what makes me so connected to TCGs in general.
Hands down, man. Like to this day, man, Red Eyes is my archetype, bro. I love that card. That will always be my favorite deck type, and I love that like as the series progressed and I dove back into it, I saw that they had like new forms of Red Eyes that you could play around with and do some cool things with. I was like, dude, this is so awesome. So yeah, I definitely like I've got the Yu-Gi-Oh Funko Pops on my shelf back there.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Right
That's so
on.
awesome.
Nice.
So I definitely feel that.
Yeah. Dude, my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh card was Moki Moki.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude.
I love
Yeah.
GX, man. I
Okie
love
dokie,
GX.
moki moki.
Oh, it
I
was
love
so much
that.
fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Man.
so many good times with that game, but it feels good because it's giving me, that same level of feeling with the Lestrals of like I kind of feel like a kid again, really. Like
Yeah.
I've been able to join out, and for someone like me too, I've had in the past few years like reaching out and like putting myself out there has also been a struggle. So like the Lestrals community being so um accepting as they are, just like
Yes.
really made it easy to just like meet people and talk with people and like make friends, which has been another, it's another one of those things like on top, like it keeps on pushing this forward
Oh, yeah.
without any like worries about like return on investment or anything like
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. That is one of my biggest takeaways from like joining Alestrals is just like how amazing this community that A Drive has built. Like
Hmm.
it's just such an amazing community. Like you can go into the Discord and like say, "Hey, I'm new here," and all of a sudden you're gonna have at least five people
Hmm.
welcome you with open arms. Hey, if you have any
Yeah.
questions, ask.
Hmm.
Somebody here
Yeah.
knows. Like, hey, do you want to run some games? Do you want to try and learn? Like, just so
Hmm.
welcoming and so awesome. Like when I first started like getting into the Discord, like because same, I was in the same boat as you, really, where
Hmm.
I was just kind of like hanging in the shadows and not really getting involved and talking much to people. And
Yeah.
so it really helped me kind of like put myself out there more and learn the game because the community was just like, it wasn't like, because I've heard like horror stories of people trying to learn how to play like Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff. And like, they're playing against somebody who has that deck that just stomps you
Yeah.
each time and it's like, hey man, want to go again? It's like, no, like I didn't learn
No.
anything.
Yeah.
What are you
Hmm.
trying to teach me? He's like, up, just lose until you win. And it's like,
Yeah.
what kind of like community is that? Like that's
Hmm.
horrible. Like
Yeah. No, it
like with
is
the
100.
Lestrals, it's just like, okay, I'm learning how to play the game. The people who you're playing with, I have a really key example from like when I first started playing where like I had like no Lestrals on board and they had one Alestral that was attacking my spirit deck, and I popped a Shield of Achilles on it, and it was just a one drop. And then they were like, "So I kind of understand your thought process here, but if you break it down and think about it, using the shield in this instance is not going to benefit you at all because you're expending two spirits instead of the one that you would from just taking the direct attack.
Yeah.
It would be more
Hmm.
beneficial to you in this instance to save that shield for a more key moment when you're about to get hit for like a lot or even
Hmm.
so that's just one of the key examples out of many that
Yeah.
the community helps. They help you better understand why that's not the optimal play and
Hmm.
how you can better utilize your counter runes and like your spirits, because like early on when I played, I would overexpend so early instead of
Oh
just
yeah. Me
holding
too.
on to some of the cards, and it would just,
Hmm.
I would lose the game myself by like turn 5, just because
Yeah.
I just overused my spirits instead of like holding off for better
Yeah.
situations that called for it. And the community, just everybody in general, like Jameson, Matt, Viper.
Matt, yeah, Matt's the king of
Yeah,
like Matt.
Matt's
Matt, yeah,
amazing.
shout out to Matt.
Shout outs to Matt for sure. But
Yeah.
yeah, guys like them, they definitely helped me learn and understand the game better. And
Hmm.
of course, there are some people that come in and they're kind of harder to teach, but it just depends on your mindset going into Alestrals. Because if you go
Yeah.
into Alestrals thinking it's going to be exactly like Yu-Gi-Oh format, to where like your one turn takes like 30 minutes, you know what I mean?
Right. Oh yeah.
You got another thing coming, man. Like a one turn is just like, all right, I drop this card, I put two face down, you're go.
Yeah.
Just
Hmm.
back and forth, really quick, really simple. And that's another appealing thing about Alestrals. It's just really fast paced. No game should take longer than 20 minutes.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
in
yeah.
some cases, it might take a little bit longer, especially when you're in like the teaching process, or if like you're in
Hmm.
just a stall out, it might take a little bit longer. But
Yeah.
that's another appealing thing about it. But yeah, just
Hmm.
you
100%.
said community, man, and I have to give a shout outs to
Oh yeah.
everybody in the Illustrials
Hmm.
community. It makes this game so much more inviting and so much more fun to play.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that comes from it being so new and everybody being so passionate about it. And that's one of the things where, as like a community, as things grow, you really want to hold on to that because you are going to get people in here who are going to be like, this is the game that I can win at, and all I care about is winning. And you are going to see an influx of those type of people. So you really need to just create, like, keep that space where people can go in the community where like we're here to help you, because you will run into, as a new player, like you will run into those people who like, I'm going to play earth beaters, I'm going to beat you, I'm going on to the next one.
Yeah.
It's the nature of anything competitive. But I feel like for other games, it's getting harder and harder and harder to find those little bubbles where you feel comfortable enough to make mistakes, to learn from them, to have someone who teaches you, And right now it's like abundant in Alestrals. It's like it's everywhere. Everybody wants to help you. I don't know of a single person who's like not going to like sit there and tell you like, hey, you could have done this better. When you think about this, this is just some of the things I've learned. Like we're all building right now, and I think that's why right now is the perfect time to join if you're looking for something to like dive into and
Oh
have
yeah,
fun.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
So Hazy, you have any thoughts about like the community? Anybody you want to shout out in particular?
Um, yeah, pretty much. Like you said, the name I've seen the most is Matt. So shout out Matt. He seems to be always offering to hop in a
Mm-hmm.
VC with pretty much any new player that comes along,
Yeah.
and it's always
Yeah.
quick with it. But yeah, just about everybody in the community is really great, and that's another huge reason why Riley and I decided to get into it. Everybody's just so friendly and welcoming instead of this like toxic, like unnecessary competitiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it's more casual.
Yeah.
Um, but
100%.
yeah, I really like it. It just kind of rubs off on everybody. So like these new players come in, and these people are teaching them the game. They're being friendly about it, and then these new players, once they get more accustomed to it, they're going to be more friendly, and they're going to want to teach other people. So
Yeah,
I think it's just going to
exactly.
snowball down the line.
It's just a whole like chain reaction domino effect thing that's happening within the community. And as Alestros progresses and grows, as I'm predicting it will, I think that
Mm-hmm.
give it a couple of years, man, and it has the potential to be in competition with some of the top TCGs out there. So,
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
I think
Agreed.
TCG player will help out a lot
oh
more.
yeah, if they finally
Yeah.
get that down, bro, the TCG player, like
Mhm.
I know Dan has said he's working on it and they're just
Mhm.
waiting on them to respond. I
Yep.
really think that will help grow the whole thing
Yep.
hugely, man. Like
Yep. I
that's
think
gonna be
that
key.
I think that and the lore. I think
Oh, dude.
like this is kind of taking it off of like MB. Like I don't know if you've seen MBT's video on like on like the Lestronauts
Yeah,
channel of like
yeah, yeah,
him
yeah.
explaining that. I think he just like nailed it.
Yeah, he did. He hit the nail
You're,
right on the head,
yeah,
man. Like he really did.
yeah, 100%. I'm like, yep, that's it. That's what I think.
Basically. Yeah, so yeah, speaking on that, what I kind of wanted to ask y'all about the inspiration behind making a Discord and doing like the Hangouts thing that y'all have organized and come up with. So
Yeah.
can y'all kind of give me a little bit of a like the mindset and the process behind putting that together and like what you are looking to get out of it and like if you're hoping to expand on it and making it like its own side thing aside from the official Lestrals like tournaments and stuff.
Mhm.
Rather.
Yeah. So this is kind of like my baby. I think that's why I've been the one like pushing it so far. Um like not to get like too like crazy on it, but it's something that I've always kind of dreamed of since I was a kid was like running my own card shop and like organizing like a tournament and like the idea of just the TCG Dome in general was to have a place where you can come to like experience Alestrals and other card games in like a ton of ways. And the idea of the hangout was I noticed that as Alestrals has been growing and has been booming, like the only official things are the Alestrals tournaments, which I love. I have a great time in.
Yeah.
But I really I was like, I want to do something that I know I've wanted to do. So not only trying to like fill something that I saw was a void, but also offer people a chance to get into the game in an organized environment that's kind of like what you make it. So it's like kind of like a casual competitive environment where you can come into it and if you're new, you can play with people who are like people can change their deck ups to like their opponent. So if you play with someone that's brand new and if you have a fun deck, you can bring that deck out, teach people. Like people can grow at their own pace, but then if you have like Jack and like Jai playing against each other and they want to go full out and like play to the top of their like levels, like everybody can do that as well as work towards like a big like tournament. So I have something to like that's fun to work for, but also to just like get together and have fun. So it kind of fit. I kind of was just thinking about like what do I want, especially as someone who like I don't have that locals yet or like that time for locals, and sometimes doing remotely is just easier. for a lot of people at the moment. So like just kind of creating that like that online space was like a huge reason just behind like the naming of the TCG Dome and like the idea of like it entirely. Like I feel like the Hangout is finally to the point where like that's what we've really wanted in tandem with like me and Hayden making content together with like the Eternal Showdown series and everything. So it's kind of like the capping on like what we have wanted as an entirety, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, for sure. And
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to ask like so it is the TCG Dome. Are y'all planning on doing other things like other card games aside from Illustrals in that as
Mhm.
well, or is it going to be strictly Illustrals for the time being?
Hayden.
Yeah, I would say strictly Illustrals for the time
Yeah.
being. We have we tried out Flesh and Blood. We had a lot of fun with that game.
Yeah,
So
great
that's a really great
Mhm.
game. In terms of just like having your hero against another hero, and it's just this 1v1 clash, and your cards are
Mhm.
essentially different types of attacks versus like monsters versus monsters.
Okay.
But
Mhm.
yeah, that's something we might touch on in the future. We've got one video that's all recorded. We just got to edit it and put it out there. But we were like, let's just snowball on Illustrials. This is our favorite game right now.
Yeah.
So,
Why not,
um,
man? And like honestly, the
yeah,
hype is real and the hype is growing. So
yeah,
Yeah.
it's real. Yeah. So I would say honestly, probably for the next year, we're gonna be focusing on Illustrials. There might be a couple other TCG videos mixed in there,
Mhm.
but Illustrials will be our main focus. And just to touch on what Riley said about the like creation of the channel, and on top of what we'll be doing with Celestials in the next year, like him and I, we created like lores. We've done a lot of creative thinking just for the TCG Dome itself. We've created like storylines, like how did we become the TCG Dome? What is the TCG Dome? And there's this thing called the narrator, which is essentially the divine being above the TCG Dome who's running these tournaments or like these clashes inside the TCG Dome.
Mhm.
And
that's
then Riley
really
and I are
cool.
like
Yeah.
transported to this place and like the world of Illustria, and then we have to face each other in this TCG Dome. That's kind of I don't know, we might it's not really solidified, but I've always just imagined like a giant coliseum type
That's
Mhm.
awesome, man. So it's essentially in like layman's terms, y'all are basically doing like a spin-off of the lore in the world of Alestria. So
Mhm.
it's kind of like this is off of this, but it's not canon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Essentially, in
Yeah.
that
It's like
sense.
a fan fiction, type of
Yeah,
story.
that's
And
so
we,
cool, man.
yeah. And initially, too, like a fun little bit of history is like when we have another YouTube channel that we were originally going to start off with that was called the Alestria Dome. So like
of.
we were planning on doing straight Alestrials, and we changed it like a week later to the TCG Dome just because we wanted that flexibility to if this game like we were still unsure about where the
Right.
game takes off, and we were still trying games like Flesh and Blood. We're like, hey, let's just keep it open where we can still focus on Illustrals, like we can be mainly Illustrals and still have that opportunity
Yeah,
to
you
go
can
wherever.
still have
And
that like you said, flexibility to like be able to, who's to say Illustrals won't like just kind of like see a dip or whatever. Y'all are able to be like, okay, so like Illustrals isn't doing too hot right now. We can actually go to this game, and it won't be so
yeah,
like jarring to the people that are subscribed and watching y'all on a regular
right,
basis.
because
They'll
they know
just
we're going to be playing everything.
exactly.
Yeah, like the goal is to have
That's
that
actually
everything.
that's actually a really smart idea. Like I mean
Mhm.
I don't see that happening personally, but
No,
it is a possibility. You never know what can happen, man. Like
yeah, 100%.
100%.
Yeah, so we just wanted that, like, we just wanted the freedom. I think something I think that was clear just by the way Hayden was talking is we have like a bunch of like creative energy that I think we have for a while have always like bounced ideas off each other because me and Hayden have always talked about starting like a business together potentially, and we've always been like super like creatively charged where like we bounce off each other really well. We just have like a lot of like creative energy that we want to like put out into the world, and this just felt like such a good opportunity to like play a game, be fun, and then also be creative and write stories and tell stories in a way that kind of like intermixes everything. So just kind of like just like the channel itself is kind of like fit a niche for us that just felt like perfect, and that's why it's like it's continued to. I think it's rolled just like easily without a lot of I wouldn't say like a lot of like bad times, like a lot of like, oh, this is too stressful. It's been like, oh, there's a bump in the road, then you get over it, just
Yeah.
because we know we want the same things out of it.
Absolutely, man, and that's huge, man. I absolutely love what you guys are doing, especially with the Eternal Showdown series. That was amazing to watch. Like, I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
And I am looking forward to like the future. Like you said, y'all guys have some like lore that y'all are gonna try and squeeze in
Oh
eventually. Like,
yeah.
I am super excited for that. That seems like
Yeah,
it's gonna be
we have
really cool, man.
Yes, we're super
Yeah.
excited. Like come June, like we have so many cool ideas. Like the quality of it is just going to be like so much higher, and like there's just going to be more thematic. Like they're going to be consistencies. Like you're going to know, you're gonna, like part of you is going to know what to expect out of it,
Right.
and and it's just going to be so much fun for Hayden and I.
I
So, like,
do love like y'all's overlays and y'all's layouts that y'all have set up. Like it's
mhm.
super cool. Like and the
Yeah,
like the
thank you.
effects. Like
Oh,
when
Hayden.
y'all put the effects for like the stadiums down, that was so sick.
Oh, thank
Oh,
you,
That
thank
was
nice.
you.
so
Yeah.
sick, man.
Yeah,
Like the
Yeah.
forge came down and all of a sudden there was just fire and it was like that.
yeah,
I was like, dude, that's so awesome. That's so creative
yeah.
and unique. Like
Thank
I
you.
I love that
Yeah.
you can see the creative juices flowing, man. Like I
Mhm.
absolutely love it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate that,
especially
man.
as someone who has that creative drive himself. I'm still kind of like learning how to like throw in stuff like that, but I'm not well versed in it and I hope to get better. Y'all have like I'm assuming y'all do all the editing and stuff yourselves, yeah?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. I'd say Hayden is our main editor right now. I think I'm just now like becoming comfortable with it, but Hayden, the stadium and things, he would like text me. He's like, "Oh my god, check out this new animation that I added." He'd like record it and send it to me,
It's
dude.
so
Oh,
cool, man.
it's a pleasure.
Dude.
It's
Yeah.
a
When
I
we were
because like
doing
sometimes when
the
I'm watching it, I'm seeing everything that Hayden posted for the first time too. So
Oh, that's so cool.
yeah
Like
when we were
yeah,
doing the
that's really it pays off as a like creator as well, like when you're doing your own editing, because like you're doing the editing process and then when it's finally all over with and you watch it back, you're like, oh my god, you know. It
yeah,
For me, like the content creation thing is kind of something that just kind of came out of nowhere for me that I never really thought about doing before
hmm
until like maybe I think around 2020 when the pandemic hit was when I started like thinking about doing other things because my main passion was music and I was a musician. I don't really dabble in music very much anymore. It's still there as a hobby, but like
hmm
I had a band and we were together for like 3 years and we actually made ourselves a decent name in our area anyways, and it ended in a very bad way and it really killed like my creative flame and drive for a good
right.
long while. And this is Alestrals itself is one of those things that has kind of like helped spark that flame again. And I get like
hmm
so much joy and excitement out of like doing stuff like this and like making the edits and like working in your own things. Like it's I'm actually really proud of the way that it's gone, but like the deck profile video that I did about
Yeah.
the from the webcam tourney, I'm really
hmm
proud of the way that that video turned out and it seems to be doing pretty well, so I'm really excited to be able to kind of like take that, learn from it and like maybe add in some more things in the future. So,
Yeah, yeah, you did
yeah
great. I loved it. Yeah,
yeah
thanks
you
man, I
most
the
appreciate
recently
it.
frog, the frog,
thumbnailed it
like
for
will draw
me
you in no
too.
matter what,
Yeah,
and
dude,
then
the
like
frog is just a crazy cool card, man.
yeah, then you do a quality video, and you're like, yep.
Yeah. Oh man, it's
Like
so cool to
I
see the
wasn't like
improvements
it's
that
cool to see the like because you're never sure how it's gonna turn out, but then when you look at it in the finished product and you just get like that joy, like that feeling in your gut, you're just like, oh dude, that's so good. I love that so much. You know?
100%.
man, it really is. And like yeah, seeing yourself on like on YouTube is such a cool feeling.
Yeah, it's so wild, right? Like
Mhm. 100%.
yeah. So I guess we're gonna kind of wrap this up, but
Yeah.
I wanted to kind of get y'all's thoughts on the competitive scene real quick. I know we kind of talked on it earlier, but I want to get y'all's opinions on like what y'all think we will see from the competitive scene moving forward. Is it going to shift much, or is it going to stay roughly the same within the next few months?
Mhm. Are you talking more about like the meta or just like people like the kind of like how it's played, like where it's played, like more people playing type of thing? So it's like the actual card game itself, or like the other side of it?
So like I would say like the card game itself, like we've seen a lot of different things being taken into Top Cut and actually making a good run. But you know, with the reveal of Frostfall and those cards coming in, what do you think that there's going to be a shakeup in there by any means?
So I've thought about it quite a bit. I've been talking with people like J Johnny, like Spicy Sausage, Jack, like all these people who are obviously becoming very well known in the Alestrals community as far as like winning tournaments, topping tournaments, like kind of preparing for what's to come, sort of thing.
Right.
And so far, I think the general consensus is that like I don't think the meta shifts all too much. I think there is decks like Morfrost that I'm excited to try out that I think have a high skill ceiling that could potentially really take over. And I think there's a lot of underexplored things in the meta. But I think looking into the future, I think the two top decks are still going to be Earth Beatdown and Thunder Nexus. They're going to look slightly different with like the new cards put in there. But I think what we're going to see is that things are going to become, now that like if those two decks remain concrete, I think we're going to see more and more people like just sticking to what's meta relevant instead of seeing this more diverse. Like I think people are going to start want to like win more. I think people are going to more start shifting their mindset into like, okay, if I want to win, I have to play the best deck instead of trying to play what they might like and what they might be attracted to. I think we're going to see a big shift in, because if you're playing against those decks so much and you're constantly losing to them, I think eventually you're going to get in that mindset of like, I want to win now, so I'm going to try and play those decks. And I think that is going to take I think there's going to be like a shift that way. But as far as the decks themselves, I think there's cards that are definitely going to make splash. I think there could be a few Frost decks, but I think it's going to mainly stay the same. I know a lot of people are doubting Fire, but I actually think Fire can start to make tops. And I think Fire is going to finally be a deck that people are going to be surprised that is going to be topping more frequently than they think.
Yeah, I agree with that statement.
I think Fire is going to go head to head with Earth, in my opinion. I think Thunder Nexus is going to drop down just because of how slow it plays.
Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, if it'll be just a tick below, if anything, like in between A and S tier. But yeah, I think that a lot of the same with Riley. I think it's gonna, in the beginning at least, you might see quite a bit of pet decks coming into the competitive format or these tournaments, but I think people are gonna try and stick with what they're comfortable with, at least for the first tournament or so, until the meta decks are figured out. And you got guys like the Alestronauts that are probably going to give you a meta tier list like a week into getting Frostfall, so
yeah,
that might change. But yeah, I think there's some cards, like I actually think Waylance could make a huge impact on
me
the
too,
game
man.
for
I'm a Waylance believer. Like,
Dude.
I know there's some people out there that are like, dude, it's not going to be that great. I'm over here like, dude, to be able to deconstruct your opponent's deck like that, like take out key components that make their deck run, that's so big, man.
Take out Spark It.
Exactly.
Links, you ruin their whole strategy.
The whole thing goes
game.
down the drain, bro. Everything just spirals for them just by taking out one component, you know? And if you're able to keep him on board, he can continue to do it. So I honestly think that Waylance could work in a mill deck, personally. It would be kind of weird to construct it, but that also, you know, you're weeding out their deck. You're thinning out their deck more with that as well, so...
I guess if you're running 3 Narpoons, which are the 1 Ice Spirit, and then you just throw in like a Waylance,
Avalanche,
and then honestly, you could make a mill deck with
it could fit, man, and then
mill will be a viable strategy. I think that strategy in general, I think it's under like discovered, but I do think it's going to be a viable strategy. I just don't know. I think it could top, but it might have like a Krakatuka type of feel where you're going to feel real good in best of ones and then
come best of twos, it's like, oh man, dang. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's going to suck if that's the deck. You're just going to be like, oh, I played against 3 mill decks today.
Yeah. Yeah, you're going to be like, oh no, here we go. This is how we're starting. Dang.
Yeah, 0-5, burn and mill.
Yep.
Traumatized. Oh,
Yeah, but it'll be
man.
fun. I think there's just a lot of things underexplored, and I think that's why people are going to be. This is going to be the most exciting time because it's going to be the first time where, as a community, we're going to be able to explore it together
Yeah.
and just have like these fun moments where, like, this random deck, like you said, like a Waylands deck is going to top, and then someone's going to make their deck profile. And we're all going to talk about it and have a good
Yep.
time. And there's so many of those little fun moments yet to come that I think really makes it exciting. Like, the meta will always be something that's talked about and fun, but these little moments where, like, someone wins a tournament with, Narpoon and Waylands or whatever, you win a
Yeah,
tournament, like,
whatever wins it.
yeah, it's gonna be
Somebody wins it with Bronteglow. Could you imagine?
yeah, exactly. Everybody will be so
Like,
hyped, and we'd be all freaking
Crazy.
out, and those are going to be the things that we really are just like so excited for and remember. So
Yeah.
yeah,
lots of
that's
fun
huge,
things.
man.
Yeah, World Championships too.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that. That's gonna be
I plan on going to Worlds myself.
Yeah, me too.
Are y'all gonna
Me
be
too.
there? Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
really hope so.
Yeah, we got to figure out how that exactly works out. But if
Right.
if we're allowed to go, then I'm going.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I've already gotten permission from the wife, so
Mhm.
like she wouldn't be able to go, so I would just go by myself,
Mhm.
probably with a buddy or my cousin. But
There you go.
once the date's released, man, I'm gonna start making arrangements. I'm gonna start setting money aside, and I'm gonna
Yeah,
make sure that I make it
100%.
because the very first Worlds to be able to be there and be a part of that, I think is gonna be so huge.
Oh yeah, it'll be so much fun.
I'm
It's
already
gonna be
feeling it, man.
yeah, that
Yeah.
it's gonna be such a blast, man. We'll
Yeah.
finally be able to like get together like in person, and it'll just be such a feels good moment.
100%.
It's so cool.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think that's a good way to wrap it up. Do you guys have anything else that y'all want to say or any promotional things that y'all want to do? Feel free.
I think the only thing is this Thursday we'll be doing another TCG Dome hangout, and then the schedule will be in there. So the biggest thing for us is if you join the Discord, you'll be able to get all that information. I'm going to work on getting like a bunch of updates for the channel as well as like the TCG Dome hangouts, like creating a calendar for it and like posting events, and it'll be a lot easier to see what's going on with that and to get into it. So that'd be the only thing I'd put out there is just like join the Discord at the TCG Dome, and you're free to play. Just come in, hang out, play the game.
Yeah, you don't even have to be a participant. You can be like Johnny, who hopped in on commentary this past.
Oh, he did great. Yeah, he did great.
Yeah.
I get that man in a contract.
Right.
Name in your extra chef stars ball cards.
Yeah.
Not enough of those.
Besides the hangouts, is there anything else now that the Eternal Showdown series has concluded that y'all are planning on putting out there? Or
Yep. So Hayden is going on vacation and he's moving right now, so he's going to be busy till like the end of May, and then in the end of May, I have a week-long vacation, so it's really going to be like June. But while Hayden is going on vacation and stuff, I think I'm just going to kind of experiment with some stuff, and like it's going to be like a very experimental time of like maybe trying some deck profiles, some like talk videos, maybe trying to make some shorts, like make some funny things, maybe like I potentially like dueling like other people and just like having that duel clash. I still use so much Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments.
yeah.
But just like having fun,
It's
like just
Clash, Ruli. It's
Yeah.
Clash. It's Clash. We
Yeah.
clash in
I think
Alestrals.
monsters so much, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
like I just have to like.
They're
just, like, I say
Alestrals.
Just to get Yu-Gi-Oh brain, but yeah, it's just gonna be a fun time, and I think come June it'll be kind of like we'll be back at it like where it is right now, and
Awesome.
be consistent and have fun with it.
Awesome, man. Well, y'all been going for the past few months. I think y'all's vacations and time off is well deserved.
Thank you.
And definitely enjoy it because the vacations, man, they don't come around frequently enough. Me
Nope.
personally, I always enjoy it when I'm able to get like at least a week off and just be able to unwind and do whatever. So like both of y'all enjoy y'all's time off.
Yeah, thank you, appreciate
Much
it.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
All right, but yeah, thank you guys so much for taking the time out of y'all's days to be a part of this and do this with me. It was a lot of fun. We had a lot of cool discussions and got some insight. And so yeah, guys, go follow the TCG Dome on all social media handles at the TCG Dome. And thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. So later.
See ya.
Later. Follow Grave Ship. Later.
Subscribe.